Good morning, all my sweet friends, pals, and confidants. Yes, straight hair. It's a lot of work to get it straight because I have naturally curly hair. So I blow it dry and then I use a straightener. And unless I go out in the rain or humidity, it'll stay fairly straight. I mean, I do have some flip-ups that I need to. It's 06:30. I have not done anything with my hair other than brush it this morning. So it's early. It's early. I took the dog out this morning and she as soon as he hit the grass, he pottied. I was so proud of him. So we're getting there with the potty training. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. We're getting there. So I'm having what do they call these? They come from the freezer, the Danish. It's a square. I cut them up into bite-sized pieces. And I'm having my cup of coffee. What's in your cup this morning? Hits a spot. Actually had coffee last night. We went out to dinner with my stepdaughter and her family. I love that girl. And we went to the Outback, and it was 6:15. I was freezing, so I got a cup of coffee. I don't drink coffee after 3 o'clock. And they offered me decaf, but I was like, 6 o'clock, yeah, I can have some coffee. So that coffee was perfect. So I promised y'all we would get back into Ruth, and I am keeping my promise. We are getting back into Ruth right now. I love the Book of Ruth, and I think who asked for it? Phyllis. I think Phyllis is the one that asked for the Book of Ruth. So Phyllis, you better be watching this, and I better see some comments and some sharing. Okay? Anyway, it's really cold out there. It is 35 degrees. I don't care where you're from. That's cold. That's cold, y'all. It snowed. My son lives in Destin, and it snowed in Destin, and in Niceville, which is right across the bay, it stuck. And they had snow on the ground. I saw videos of Pensacola or Panama City. Oh no, but their snow stuck. My dear sweet lady that I love, Brenda Gant, it snowed in Alabama. It snowed a lot of places here in the South, so don't tell me this ain't cold. Don't call me no sissy, Steve. I'm not a sissy. I just don't like cold. I don't want to be cold. I'm cold all the time now that I have no body fat on me. Sometimes in jeans it might look like I do. That's skin. I'm 114 pounds. There's no fat on me. So I'm cold. And I'm not going to get fat again just so that I can be warm again, because then I was hot all the time, sweating like a pig. I ain't going to go back there. Anyway, it's a beautiful day. It's going to be sunshiny, high of 54, which is still, for me, that's too cold. What's this? Oh, that was dinner plans the other night. So I was looking at my journal from last year, and CO and I FaceTime for the first time ever 1 year ago yesterday. And 1 year ago, I think Monday, 1 year ago, this coming Monday, was our first date. And that was at church. And Steve, I still owe you an explanation about how we met and all that. I will do it, I promise. The short version is we met online, and we liked each other's profile. I had actually set up a date with an attorney that lived down the street, and as soon as I read CO's profile and he contacted me, I canceled the date with the attorney because I knew, CO's profile was what I was looking for. I was looking for a godly man who was active in his church, active in ministry, and that was CO. And so I'm very excited. We've been together a year now. We've been married, it'll be a year in May, and he's very good to me. He loves me, and I love him, and we're good for each other. We challenge each other. And our plan, he's still working. He's 68, still working full time. He drives back and forth to Jacksonville. He's a financial officer in a large commercial construction company. So he wants to work till he's 72. If he can do it, I'll support him. I wish he didn't have to drive so far every day because he has horror stories. And last Thursday there was a big bad accident on A1A, and it was in Ponte Vedra. And I looked at my watch, and that was right at the time he was supposed to be coming through Ponte Vedra. So I got really nervous, and I started texting him, "Where are you?" I called him, "Where are you?" He didn't answer. That made me panic even more. But we have our phone set up so we can, when you go through message, you can see where their phone is, not necessarily where they are, unless they have the phone with them. I always have my phone with me. Always. I want to make sure that my kids can contact me anytime, anywhere, and my grandbabies, and my husband, and my sister, and my brother. So I always have my phone with me. And he doesn't. He's terrible about it. But when he's coming back and forth to work, he definitely does. And I could see him moving on the map. And I was like, well, thank goodness. At least he's moving, which means he's not in that terrible car accident. So I'm texting him saying, get off A1A, because he hates that traffic. But he got stuck on it, and he did eventually get through. They had stopped traffic in both ways, but he did get through, and he got home. He was only maybe half hour, 45 minutes late. And that was, we were going out, was that the night we were going out for pizza? No, we went out for, I don't remember. No, we went out for pizza Friday night. We went somewhere Thursday night. Or did we get Chinese? I think we got Chinese. My memory is so bad. Normally I have a really good memory. Thank you, Grandma. My grandma was in her 90s when she passed, and she was still smart as a whip up until she passed. So, yep. Okay, so we are restarting Ruth. We're going to go back, because I don't know what we talked about. I know we didn't start reading Ruth, but I started talking about Ruth and Boaz and Naomi and all the characters for family. She was married. She had 2 sons. Because of famine where they lived outside Jerusalem and Bethlehem, was Jerusalem? No, Jerusalem wasn't even a city yet, because David did that, and David is Ruth's great-grandson? Yeah, great-grandson. So Jerusalem wasn't even built yet, but Bethlehem was. Bethlehem was a town, and they lived in Bethlehem, and they moved to Moab because there was work and food in Moab, and that's where Naomi's sons met Orpah and Ruth. But eventually, all the men died. The Bible doesn't say how or when or how far apart, but they had all passed away, which left all 3 of these women as widows, and they did not have children. I don't know why. I don't know how old they were. You know, for all I know, they could have gotten married at 16. I did. And just hadn't had time to have children, because Ruth did eventually have at least one child with Boaz. She may have had more. We'll have to look. We'll find out, won't we? But I know she at least had one child with Boaz, and that ended up being David's great-grandfather. No, David's grandfather. Ruth was his great-grandmother. Her son was David's grandfather. I know it's not a convoluted mess, but at 68, up here it's a convoluted mess. We'll get it all straightened out. So I'm going to start today by reading you the introduction to Ruth by David Jeremiah. My husband bought me this new Bible, the study Bible by David Jeremiah for Christmas, and it was wonderful of him. It's even got my name, Lou Ann Spurway, first Bible with my new name, and he wrote a message in here, and this is just to me. I'm not going to read it. It's private. It's very lovely. He's very thoughtful. Okay, so I'm going to read this introduction by David Jeremiah. We are already 10 minutes in, 11 minutes in. So let me get going on this. Okay, Ruth, book introduction. The opening line in the Book of Ruth is a snapshot of Israel during the time of Judges. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. In Israel's case, there was more than just an absence of food. A spiritual famine arose after the Hebrews settled in Canaan, and this led to physical famine. Moses had warned the people that if they failed to cleanse the promised land of pagan corruption, their fields and flocks would be cursed, and this was a promise in Deuteronomy. When physical famine fell upon them, some Israelites sought food where they could find it, in the land of their enemies, the idolatrous Moabites. The Book of Ruth captures this irony of an Israelite family leaving Bethlehem, which means house of bread, a symbol of God's fullness, in searching for bread in pagan Moab. Both the husband, Elimelech, and his two sons in the family died while in Moab. The wife, Naomi, was suddenly without protection or resources, save the two Moabite wives of her dead sons. Just as the Lord would not turn away from Israel, his loyal love, a love that will not let go, would rescue Naomi and her daughter-in-law Ruth, bringing them from emptiness into fullness of joy. Ruth's story is one of a God who redeems. The Hebrew word is used throughout the book, and delivers his people when they heed his direction. Trusting Naomi's God to provide, Ruth insisted on leaving all and following her mother-in-law back to Bethlehem. But Naomi and Ruth had nothing upon arrival in Judah. According to custom, they needed a relative, the Hebrew term is kinsman redeemer, to redeem or provide for them and their family name. And Boaz, likely Elimelech's brother or cousin, stepped up, rescuing Naomi and Ruth from poverty and taking Ruth as his wife. In his generous redemptive actions, Boaz becomes a forerunner of the ultimate kinsman redeemer, Jesus Christ, who redeemed his bride, the church, so that his people might have a life and a future. And by her acceptance of Naomi's God, Ruth becomes a picture of what Paul would teach centuries later. It is not by physical descent from Abraham that one is redeemed, but by faith of Abraham, by the faith of Abraham in Abraham's God, Jehovah. What it says, kindness leads to redemption. Though only 4 chapters in length, the Book of Ruth has long been recognized as a literary masterpiece. But it is much more than that. First, the story of Ruth exemplifies genuine, selfless love at its best, not just between a young woman and a man who redeemed her, but also, and of all things, this young woman's unconditional commitment to her mother-in-law. The Book of Ruth is about the inclusive love of God too. Even before the gospel message was delivered to the nations by Christ's disciples, the love of God was triumphing over racial and religious prejudices. Man, do we have racial and religious prejudices here? My goodness, we do. drawing non-Israelite people into his redemption plan. As Ruth is invited to join the people of God, she takes her place in the lineage of faith and promise and becomes an integral part of every Christian's heritage. Second, the story exalts women. Perhaps nowhere else in God's word is a person's willing faith, strength of character, and purity of motive so vividly portrayed. In Ruth, we see God's tender care for women as he especially eases the burden of two widows caught in the direst of circumstances, poverty, grief, and homelessness. Third, and most importantly, Ruth's story draws our attention to God's magnificent purpose of loving, redeeming all those who put their trust in him. What does this mean, redeeming love? This beautiful story demonstrates the power and passion of redeeming love, even though, ironically, the word love is never used. The book's primary themes are: 1, redemption. In various forms, the Hebrew word for redemption occurs more than 20 times in the book. And y'all thought it was a love story. Redemption is illustrated when Boaz, the kinsman redeemer, rescues Naomi and Ruth out of poverty and gives them a place in his household. In doing so, he becomes a picture of Christ's redemption. Number 2, loyalty and kindness. The Hebrew word hesed, loving kindness or loyal love, occurs 3 times in Ruth. The loyalty and kindness of Ruth, Naomi, and Boaz toward each other portray the faithfulness of God towards his people, calling us all to new level of gratitude for lovingness of our divine King and Redeemer. Set against the dark period of the Judges when everyone did what was right in his own eyes, Judges 21-25, the account also encourages believers to walk faithfully with the Lord and stand apart as lights in the darkness. Number 3, God's sovereignty. God is clearly at work in this book, sovereignly arranging the events of everyday life to preserve the family line from Abraham to Jesus, as he promised Abraham. And through the union of Boaz and Ruth, God carries on his program of redemption, not just for the 2 widowed women, but also for his people. What does this mean for us? Trust and obey. Remember that song? Trust and obey, for there's no other way. Yes, trust and obey. In this story, we find 3 people who went against the status quo and faithfully heeded the Lord's direction, even though they could not see where it would take them. And that trusting obedience brought redemption for us all, not just for their family. When we start to walk in God's way, he will direct us. If we sit back, however, sorting through the options until everything makes sense, we will never discover God's will. God steers our course when we take both hands off the wheel. As we follow his lead, we can trust him to redeem the hardships of our past and to provide us with a present moment. We can also entrust the future results of our day-to-day decisions to him. One of those decisions should be uncommon kindness. I hope that I am kind. My husband said I'm kind. I've had other people say that is a quality that I have. I see myself as very mean sometimes. I can see my mother in me. My mother was very mean. My grandma could be a mean lady too. Although I adore her. Okay. Because God has so generously redeemed us and welcomed us into his family through Christ, we can go the extra mile with others, unafraid to sacrificially provide for their well-being. This is the kind of love that even a lost world notices. I love David Jeremiah. He is so smart, so knowledgeable. He's awesome. I already did my daily bread devotions this morning, and I reordered my Mornings with Jesus. I thought I had ordered one for 2026, but evidently I didn't. So I did order one last week, so it'll be here soon. And that's the book that I use every morning for my devotions. I already put last year's away. So right now I'm just using the Daily Bread. If you don't have something, if you're not doing a full Bible study every morning, which is awesome, at least do a short, it's one page and it's large print. So, do something that every morning, as soon as you get up, it puts your focus on the Lord. And that helps you throughout the day to keep your focus on Him. Y'all, it's 20 minutes. I guess it's okay if you followed my video all the way through. I hope you did. I hope that you like and share. And if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe. I love y'all. I hope you have a wonderful day. Let me know what's in your cup. Is it milk? Is it water? Is it soda? Is it tea? Is it coffee? I drink a cup of coffee every morning. I need the cup of caffeine. Anyways, I love y'all. Behave. Bye.